Just when you thought we've scraped through the fraud in Minnesota and gotten to the bowels of the sewer that is Minnesota Democrat politics, well, we've got more for you. So we're going to get to the video in 30 seconds, but first, a quick message from Birch Gold Group. It's a new year, and that means new financial goals, like making sure your savings are secure and diversified. Make this the year you finally call Birch Gold Group. Until January 30th, if you're a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 on qualifying purchases. You've got to claim eligibility to start the process, so text Larry to 989898. Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold, and you're eligible for a rebate of up to $10,000. But you got to claim eligibility. Text my name, Larry, to 989898. That's Larry. Text it to 989898 for Birch Gold Group. Now, back to the video. Nick Shirley, citizen journalist who basically just led to Tim Walz's departure, stage left, extreme left. He's now got a new video looking into how they cast votes and count votes and register voters in Minnesota. Take a look at this.
Here, and it's way beyond anybody's imagination, the total amount. The state doesn't even know. The feds don't even know.
And so, for instance, why would that judge bow down to the head of the Somali mafia here?
What I can tell you is that it's a voting bloc, and what they say is if you do something to go against our community, we're going to vote for, and they all vote together, and there's ballot harvesting, I've seen them do it, that we're going to vote for your opponent unless you do what we tell you to do.
And so is it all purely for votes?
Yes.
And so this building right here, Cedar Riverside, major, massive apartment complex. How many Somalis do you think live in there, for instance?
Well, this is just one complex. You've got 20 more just like this around the Twin Cities, and they're all Somali. You're talking probably 100,000 or more people, and they're all living rent-free. They're driving a vehicle that you paid for. They're eating food that you paid for. Everything they do is something that you paid for.
And for instance, that entire block will then go and vote for one specific candidate.
They'll have one person go there and collect all the ballots, and nobody tracks. They could say they have 9 people living in an apartment. They're going to send them 9 ballots. And then they have someone who comes along, collects all the ballots.
And here's the thing that you need to know. In the state of Minnesota, ballot harvesting is illegal. All right. Now, there are some states where ballot harvesting is totally legal, and they love it. States like California, states that are dominated by Democrats. We showed you the graphic before where every single state that Kamala Harris won in 2024 also happens to be, by coincidence, states that have no ID requirements whatsoever. Every single one of them. Shocking, isn't it? Totally shocking that Democrats love laws like this. But in Minnesota, it is illegal for you to go to an apartment building and say, okay, I'll deliver your ballot for you. Just give me your ballot, give me your ballot, give me your ballot. I'll deliver them for you. And then you go and you drop them off, and that's against the law. But the problem is, if no one's looking, if no one's investigating, if nobody cares, you can break the law. And the net result is the ballots are going to get counted as valid votes. It's sort of like the border. It's like we have laws against people crossing the border, but then when you tell Border Patrol to not enforce that law and you just stand there and let people cross the border without any repercussions, guess what? People are going to cross the border and they're going to stay here. So yeah, there's a law in Minnesota against ballot harvesting, but if nobody in authority cares to enforce that law, well, that's exactly what they do. But it gets worse. We've got multiple reports from multiple citizen journalists to paint the picture for you exactly how corrupt the election process in Minnesota is. And just like we told you in our first segment tonight, anything that you're seeing in Minnesota, make it times 10 in California or states like Illinois and New York. So we go from Nick Shirley, citizen journalist, to Scott Pressler, who's a citizen activist, but he knows his way around election laws. Set aside ballot harvesting for a second. We'll get back to it. This is even more corrupt. Imagine bringing 8 of your friends who have never registered to vote and don't even have any identification, bringing them with you to the bank and saying, listen, These guys have no ID and they don't have bank accounts here, but I vouch for them. They're good. They're normal. Give them $100 each. What would your bank say? Your bank would say, hell no, what the hell are you talking about? That's ridiculous. Now watch what happens when you do the exact same thing, not at a bank and not to get $100, but at a polling place in Minnesota to get something much more valuable than $100, a vote.
One policy outright allows registered voters to vouch for up to 8 people seeking same-day registration. But catch this, without an ID. And it goes even further. For those living in residential facilities like nursing homes, employees can vouch for an unlimited number of residents. Looking at past Minnesota elections, the amount of same-day voter registration is staggering, well outside the margin of victory. Joining us now, conservative activist and early vote action founder, Scott Pressler. Scott, welcome to the program. You're on the ground a lot, and you love registering people to vote. But this is concerning. Not only are they doing it same day with an ID, without an ID, but they allow other people to vouch for other voters.
Yes, I want to be very clear. This is according to Minnesota state law that with vouching, no proof of residency is required. No photo or voter ID is required. If we were all living in the same neighborhood, I could vouch for you, Lawrence, and say, I know Lawrence, I know Will Kane, and just simply my vouching and you guys signing an oath declaring that you are following the law, you will be handed 2 ballots and you will be able to vote. And if I have 6 other friends that I vouch for, my one registered voter in Minnesota could get 8 voters. Now, what's even more concerning, and you just said this earlier, is that if I were an employee at a residential facility, according to state law, I could vouch for unlimited voters by simply showing proof of being an employee at the residential facility. And so thanks to Nick Shirley, we are now exposing potential fraud when it comes to our election system.
This is absolute insanity. Absolute insanity. It is no way. Remember when we were into nation building over in Iraq and Afghanistan, where we got into these crazy, insane sort of adventures where we would depose the government and restructure it with a brand new constitution, and we introduced democracy to these, tribal nations who have never actually had any sort of agency before to elect their own representatives. And we thought it was a great idea. Remember that? Remember, we thought, this is going to be a great idea. We're going to introduce freedom and Western democracy to places like, the middle of the desert in the Middle East. And they're all going to be like, Paris someday, right? What was amazing is that when we introduced voting to those areas, if the tribesmen came back and said, okay, we have a great idea for voting, and we did exactly what was going on in Minnesota, we would laugh them out of the room. We would say, that's no way to run an election. What are you people, insane? You can't do that. Remember what we did in Afghanistan when they voted for the first time in like 150, 200, first time ever, I think? Remember what they did? They would go and cast their ballot, and then they would stick their finger in purple ink. Why? So that they couldn't vote again, so that there could be no fraud. By the way, speaking of fraud, here you can walk up and vouch for 8 people without any ID. Forget about proving that they're citizens of Minnesota. What about proving they're citizens of this country? How do you know that those 8 people that you just brought up and vouched for aren't just flew in a week ago from Somalia to visit Uncle Omar and Auntie Ilhan? You don't. Hey, I'm glad you guys are visiting. Hey, while you're here, we're going to make sure we go to Mall of America. We'll catch a Vikings game. Oh, and come vote with us. It's amazing. You wouldn't believe what they let you do here in Minnesota. And Democrats will watch that report just now and say, wait a minute. Now, yes, it's true that we want access to as many people as possible to franchise them, because we're not racist like you Republicans. We're not racist like you conservatives. So yes, but when someone vouches at the polling place, they have to sign a document swearing that they're not breaking the law. And if it's found out they broke the law, there's really severe penalties for them. That's what Democrats will say. And of course, the only follow-up question is, oh, that's terrific. Hey, how many police officers investigate this to see if any crimes were committed? Yeah, the crickets you will hear will be deafening. This is how they do it. This is how they get away with it. Oh, well, we want very severe penalties if anyone's ever caught, but no one's ever caught because no one's ever investigating whether the law is being broken. And that's the scam. And that's how they get away with it. And anytime you stand up and say, this is complete bullshit, anytime you stand up and call it what it is, the likes of Tim Walz and Kamala Harris and Barack Obama call you a white supremacist, call you racist. And the answer is you're not racist. In fact, you're trying to protect the votes of black people, Latino people, Asian people, and hey, even white people whose votes get canceled out by all of these criminals because they don't deserve to vote. I gave you the analogy of going up to a bank and getting $100, and I mean that sincerely because I assure you, the votes in Minnesota that have made a difference and allowed the kind of fraudulent government programs that we're now uncovering, those votes were worth way more than $100. The vote is kind of valuable when it turns into an $18 billion fraud scheme. Now do you see how crucial this is? And I don't know if you noticed this at the beginning of the report, but take a look at the margins of error. You've got same-day voter registration statistics for the last several elections. In 2024, 2020, you're looking at around 250 to 300,000 same-day voters in Minnesota. Why the hell can't they get their act together and register to vote like normal people? Nope, we got to let you register to vote on the same day. And then what was the margin of error? The margin of error, they don't have the margin of error here. All right, we'll show you the margin of error in just, the margin of victory in just a second. Now, so we move from citizen journalist Nick Shirley to citizen activist Scott Pressler. Now back to citizen journalist, this time James O'Keefe, O'Keefe Media Group. Remember how I told you that ballot harvesting is illegal in Minnesota. You are not allowed to go and pick up and collect other people's mail-in ballots and then deliver them all in one fell swoop, right? That's illegal. Here's James O'Keefe's report.
Project Veritas has received an explosive piece of tape. The tape you're about to see shows a man buying a registration form for an absentee ballot from a voter, giving him, quote, pocket money, unquote, of $200 and expecting to collect his ballot when the voter receives it.
But that's illegal, why?
We don't get illegal. أنا بالعقل وانا بقول.
How much are you?
Good one.
She's the one who came up with all this.
So she did it. She
Yeah.
started this whole thing with the pay to vote.
Yeah.
So the people that work for Ilhan are actually counting the ballots, counting the vote.
And they become a manager in the prison too.
They walk with you to the booth, and then they vote. Oh, vote this guy, vote this guy, vote this guy. Vote even if you speak English.
هذا الشباب إيسيارين. الشباب من كل يقربان.
The reason she's fighting for Palestine is because of this guy. So it's all about money and power, and they want her to defend Israel.
All right. Incredible work, as always, from James O'Keefe. Part of that report was from when he was with Project Veritas, and also this new edit is from the O'Keefe Media Group, OMG. OMG. It's all about money and power. Couldn't have said it better myself. And votes are money. Votes are power. They can only commit this fraud if they're in power, and they only get into power if they get enough votes, even if they have to buy them. And the way they get around this, by the way, is that they pay organizations, non-government organizations, go out and pay people on the ground to help community organize. You know, what Barack Obama did for a living before he became president? Yeah, that was his work experience. They community organize, and they get people to go to the polls, or they get people to vote. But now that they've instituted drop boxes and ubiquitous mail-in ballots, dude, they're going to get paid either way, whether they come in person to vote or whether they just deliver the ballots. So what do? They literally get paid on a per ballot basis by these NGOs that are funded in part by your tax dollars, by the way, because they tell the state government or the federal government, oh, yeah, we're community organizers and we're getting people engaged and franchised and we're getting people to be involved in their democracy. And isn't that wonderful? Oh, that is wonderful. And what it really means is that they're operatives for the Democrat Party to go out and buy ballots. That's the bottom line. Now, after that investigation that spanned the course of several years by James O'Keefe, I'd now like to show you the local Minneapolis news agency's report on the Attorney General's investigation into this fraud scheme. I'd like to show you that. But I can't, because it never happened. There was no criminal investigation into the illegal ballot harvesting. There was no criminal investigation into the individuals shown on camera by James O'Keefe's group. There was no criminal investigation into any of the criminal behavior that appears to have been uncovered by that undercover report. And, oh, how about the follow-up from 2020 or 60 Minutes or Dateline or any of the other very well-financed network journalism, investigative journalism concerns out there with budgets, 1,000 times that of James O'Keefe's budget. Would you like to see that report? So would I. Don't hold your breath. They don't do it. They don't care because they're part of the fraud. And yet there's more. If it's not bad enough, the vouching for people at the ballot box, the ballot harvesting that is illegal, the going over to an apartment building and taking everybody's ballots and just throwing it over there for the party, what about fraud involved with the voter registration process at the DMV in Minnesota? Here we actually do have an investigation at the state Senate. Minnesota State House, where Republicans actually do want to get to the bottom of this. What they uncovered is chilling. Has Keith Ellison, the Attorney General in Minnesota, done anything? Well, you can answer that question, can't you? Of course not. He's part of the scheme.
We are still trying to understand if these people, as news reports flagged, they admitted in some instances that they were paid by the voter registration. So that brings me to the point of this foundation. Clearly, they hired people as independent contractors. 2 of them were found guilty. This group, I've done a deep dive on their 990s. 99% of their budget comes from state grants. So this is a group that the state is funding and that then went out and did these voter registrations and they participated. The foundation didn't participate in fraud, but they hired people with state dollars who then used that to create fake voter registrations.
That's right. Fake voter registrations. And of course, once you get a fake voter registration, if you're registered, you get a ballot. And that ballot then becomes a vote and it gets counted. And I love this woman. Great, wonderful. Nice to see a Republican in Minnesota doing something. Could you just do one thing, ma'am? I promise. Great job. One note. Stop saying state funded. Stop saying state grants. Stop saying government money, because it's our money. It's the taxpayers' money. It's the people's money. They're taking our money to fund their fraudulent scheme to get their fraudulent votes to fix the election so that they can keep the money flowing. Whose money? Our money. That's all. Other than that, great job. Honestly, I kid you not. And it gets worse in Minnesota. If you go to the website and take a look at sos.min.gov, that would be the Secretary of State, it says if you want to vote by mail, apply to have an absentee ballot mailed to you. Oh, by the way, you don't have to be registered to apply for your absentee ballot. So let me get this straight. I want to vote by mail, which is the easiest way to defraud an election. So all I got to do is apply online for an absentee ballot, and I don't have to be registered. So what exactly are they checking my information against to know that I'm eligible to get that ballot? The answer? Nothing. Oh, but when you ask for a ballot, you have to check a box, and you swear to the Almighty, you swear to God, you swear to Baal or whoever the hell they're worshiping in Minnesota these days. You swear that you're being honest, and if they find out, boy, the penalty is severe. Remember when I mentioned the margin of victory in Minnesota? Remember those numbers that we looked at, okay? Here are the numbers of same-day absentee ballots for registrations. 2008, 540,000. 2012, 527,000. 2016, 353,000. 2020, 260,000. You get the picture, right? Okay, so what about the margin of victory? Well, here's Tim Walz's last election when he was running for re-election in 2022. He won by about 200,000 votes. He won by about 200,000 votes. Maybe that's why yesterday we saw this embarrassing display when he made his announcement that he didn't quite think a third term was in the cards for him.
I'm proud of the way we treat our neighbors. I'm proud of the way that we welcome people to this state. I'm proud of the way that we innovate. And I'm proud of the way that we are optimists for the future. No one's taking this away from us. Not the fraudsters. Certainly not this president. Not on my watch. Tomorrow, I'll be back with you. I'll give you an update on America's best paid family medical leave program that is now a week into it. And at that time, I'll take all your questions. Thank you all.
Thank you, Press. I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks a lot. I'll more tomorrow. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Wow. All right.
Thank you, Press.
But you said you were going to take questions. Why didn't you?
Thank you all. We'll be back tomorrow. Thank you.
Do you hear the reporters pissed off because he wouldn't take any questions? Do you hear even the left-wing media in Minnesota says, what the hell is this? You won't even answer a question. You're going to make an announcement like this? And did you see the fury in his face? He's really upset. He's really angry at the people who have bilked taxpayers for upwards to $9-10 billion in the state. No. He's not pissed at them. He's pissed at Trump. He's pissed at citizen journalists. And he's pissed at you for not voting for him in the first place, so he didn't have to deal with Minnesota. Hell, he'd be one heartbeat away from the White House right now if it weren't for you and your nasty little vote. All right, listen, I don't want to get you all worked up and all negative and angry and feel like it's hopeless and we can't do anything. First of all of this is being investigated, hopefully criminally investigated, and hopefully by shining a light on this nonsense, this outrageous corruption in the voting schemes in Minnesota, we can make a change. If not in that state, in your state. Because if you're in a blue state right now, you're probably dealing with the same thing. And the best way to fix it is to shine a light on it. If you're in a red state, you need to make sure that Democrats don't try to push this crap through and stupid Republicans go along with it. And I'm telling you, you can make a difference. And I have proof. Like I said, I don't like to be glass half full all the time. I don't want to be negative. I want to leave you with some upside, with some hope. So we found some hope in this story in the most unlikely place, California. Because just yesterday, a ballot initiative for the state of California for this November passed the 1 million signature threshold. What is that ballot initiative? Photo ID. The Democrats in Sacramento, where they've rigged the system so they have a permanent one-party rule majority, they would never entertain the idea of photo ID. Otherwise, how are they going to stay in office? How are they going to stay in power? The governor of California, going all the way back to Schwarzenegger, would never entertain photo ID because Schwarzenegger doesn't want to be called racist, and apparently thinking that someone of color is incapable of getting an ID is racist. Personally, I think the notion that an individual, because of the color of their skin, is incapable of getting an ID is racist, but that's just me. And then after Schwarzenegger, because he refused to do such a thing, we've had nothing but Democrats running the state for 16 straight years now, from Jerry Brown to Gavin Newsom. And they would never entertain the idea of photo ID, because how else are they going to retain power? How else will they keep the fraud going? It took the people of California, through their ballot initiative process, to now reach 1 million signatures, and this November it will be on the ballot. And you watch. You want to be instructed. You want to be educated. You want to see what Democrats really care most about. You watch how much money they raise to fight against that simple notion that when you go to vote, you merely have to prove you are who you say you are. The money that they will spend to keep that from happening will be astronomical, and it tells you everything you need to know.